Hey, everybody, it's Julie. This conversation with Matt Kelley was a fun one. What did Matt and I talk about? Well, we talked about how we ended up marching in a parade. Unbeknownst to us, we ended up in a parade one time, which was a blast. We talked about his long tenure in various roles in senior living, starting out at a very young age. We talked about his role at Personic Health as a RVP of Ops and Business Development, mobile wound care, and also his role in a relatively new company called Levion Health. Super excited for him to share what they're doing, some really cool things at Levion. We talked about what it feels like to be shopping for, in this case, independent living, being the customer, and some of the disappointments he experienced recently when helping a friend whose mother was absolutely moving now, qualified, moving, and yeah, he shares a little bit about the challenges, which, learning the challenges, helps us look at where we can seal gaps. And then we talked about differentiators, which really tied back into Alevian Health and his role and what they're doing. So I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And as always, thank you so much for your support. Like, share, subscribe so other people can learn and enjoy conversations like I did with Matt Kelley. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy Podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, and today a very warm welcome to Matt Kelley. Matt, it's good to see you.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for
It,
having me.
it's my pleasure. Is Matt? I know you're technically your name's Matthew, but we're good friends enough to say Matt.
That's right. Absolutely. Prefer Matt. That'd be great.
Matt and I have known one another professionally for several years. I'm
Yep.
excited. I didn't introduce you to your role in company because you're going to explain. You got a lot of plates,
Sure.
juggling plates. But one of my favorite memories. I think you and I marched in a parade.
Yes, we did at one of the Argentum conferences in New Orleans. That was definitely a memory I'll never forget. That was a fun one. And I think they're actually going back there next year.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those situations like, how did we end up in a parade? And it's like all of a sudden we were in a
I
parade.
know. That was hilarious. And
I'm
they
like,
blocked off the streets and everything for
yeah,
us. And they had a
yeah.
band, and I was like, wow,
We
this
were,
is a once in a
we were
lifetime
like part of the
experience.
band. I'm like, Matt and Julie are in this parade in the band. But Matt, I see Personic Health behind you. So,
Yes.
all right. So, yeah, if you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about
Sure.
you and Personic Health and all your other roles.
Sure. So, my name's Matt Kelley. I'm the Regional Vice President of Operations and Business Development for Personic Health. I oversee the Maryland, Virginia, DC market, and I'm also currently supporting the Texas market. I actually started my healthcare career in senior living. So, I started actually in activities when I was in college. And then worked my way up through the ranks at Sunrise. Left there, I was area manager of sales overseeing Kansas and then transitioned to Virginia. Ended up moving to be head of sales for a skilled nursing company in Maryland. Had a small stint at Brandywine Senior Living, opening up one of their buildings in Potomac. Then moved over to be head of sales for a home health company. And then I was very fortunate that the owners of Personic found me on LinkedIn, recruited me over to Personic. So October will actually be my third year here. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Personic, Personic is a mobile wound center. So we bring a clinical team into the home, skilled nursing, wherever the patient calls home, to do advanced levels of wound care. So we provide all the same services that the wound center would, but we do it by the bedside. It's been great. We've been growing a lot. Our current census in Maryland, we actually just grew again to about 615 patients. And then we have another about 250 in Virginia. So it has been an amazing journey so far. We've also been blessed that there are six skilled nursings that have invited us in to round in there as well. So it's been an awesome journey. So yeah,
Oh, wow. And you're very well-rounded. You have passion. Your entire career has been serving older adults, seniors in various capacities. and I
Yep.
know you well, and I know that you have a passion no matter what your professional role is.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
It,
that.
to make it clear too that Personic Health, you will also serve residents, right? You mentioned at home and
Yes.
in skilled nursing, but
Yes.
residents and they're
Correct.
independent, assisted,
Yep.
memory
So we go
support.
into assisted livings, memory care, skilled nursing, independent living, pretty much anywhere but the hospital we can go.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So, and you're growing, which is
Yes.
great, mobile wound care. And I would assume all of your experience in sales and leading teams is really lend itself, because it's your third year, in growing your sales systems and processes and coaching your teams at Personic and using much of the same similar processes with building relationships and
Yep.
follow up
It's
and
funny. I
project.
like to say I got my degree at Sunrise because Sunrise had a book for anything you wanted to do within a business. So I feel like I got my degree at Sunrise. I got to implement that degree when I went to the smaller company Lorien, and it's just been a continuous growth from there. I've actually learned a lot from you too. I follow your podcast. I follow a lot of your posts. So I appreciate leaders like you that put out a lot of content because I'm always trying to do anything I can to get an edge or continue to grow my knowledge base. I never am somebody that says I have all the answers, but try my best, that's for
Oh
sure.
my goodness, steer clear of those that do.
There's
So,
plenty of those out there, that's for
uh,
sure.
yeah, I just steer clear of those. So what there's so Personic Health, that's
Yes.
your day job.
Yep.
And so tell
And
us a little bit about
sure.
yeah,
So I have
what else
another
you do?
passion project that I've been working on. It's called Alevion Health. So we started Alevion earlier this year in February. We launched, and Alevion is a medication adherence program. So we have a team of clinicians that will do a telehealth visit through the TV. So we have a little box that plugs into the TV and allows us to turn the TV on remotely and do a virtual visit. So the goal of our program is medication compliance. We work with some of the biggest hospitals here in the area, and one of their number one readmission problems is medications. Thankfully, it was also wounds, but we've kind of helped them with that as already through Personic. And so, how we kind of thought about the idea is when I was doing home health and personal care, it was just so expensive to be able to have somebody come in just to point to the medications that a patient was supposed to take. And then a lot of families really just wanted somebody to be able to lay eyes on their mom or dad and let them know that they're okay. So our program is intended to help patients that are living at home alone or maybe have some ADL support but need, additional reminders to take their medications because maybe they can't afford 24-hour care or 10-hour increments. And then where we're really making some headways in the independent living space. Independent living is great. It provides activities, it provides meals, it provides a lot. But the one thing that independent living is not really intended for is to provide care. And so, at a very affordable rate, we're able to have a little box plugged into the TV. We can check on those residents on a daily basis. We could check on them technically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if they want it. Our visits are intended to be about 15-minute increments. So, we will show up on the TV, watch the resident take their medications, do a pseudo check in on them. Hey, Miss Smith, I see you have a little scratch on your head. Did you have a fall last night? Okay, let me let your son or daughter know that. Hey, Miss Smith, I know you have a upcoming doctor's appointment. Just wanted to make sure you were aware and all set to go. One of the things we've also kind of developed is a partnership with some of the local pharmacies as well. So when somebody goes in for their primary care appointment, being able to take that order, give it to the pharmacy, make sure that the proper medications are being filled and are there for the resident when they get back home. It's funny, we work pretty closely with a Nova hospital here in Virginia, and they have a pharmacy on campus at their Nova Fairfax campus, and there's still patients going home that don't have the right medications. So, we're just one more tool and support for that busy working son or daughter that just wants peace of mind, knowing that their loved one's checked in on a daily basis. We'll send you a quick alert after the visit. Mom's great. Or, hey, mom's been wearing the same clothes for the past 3 or 4 days. She's cognitively a little bit off of her baseline. These are some things you should probably look into. So we're there just to be an additional layer of support.
Wow. Yeah. And it sounds like, uh, it, well, it sounds great. I mean, and
Thank you.
candidly, Grow Your Occupancy has been leaning in and helping you from a helping
Yes.
Levy on Health from a sales perspective as our remote sales specialist.
Yep. Julie's been
because,
fantastic.
thank you. Because it really, when you and I talked a few months ago, I was like, oh wow, there's so much opportunity here, and I really see it as, I mean, all the good things you're doing now for people who's living at home, but to your point, in like an independent living setting, and as a true differentiator, for the
Yes.
independent living operator,
Yep.
and there's many, I know we've been talking to several, and they're, all the lights are going on and everyone's been really excited, and they've some great feedback. A few months ago, and I definitely want to get back to this, but something you mentioned, Matt, and I think it ties this all kind of together, is
Sure.
recently you were helping a friend's mom who's like ready to move, financially qualified, find independent living, and
Correct.
didn't have a great experience doing so. Because we had talked, and you were just in the middle of that.
I had just gotten off it and I was like, Julie would love to hear this story. And I think we talked for about 20 minutes after. And so I had touched a little bit on it. My background, I initially started at Sunrise. We were very structured. We had a very rigorous sales program where we put a lot of systems and processes in place to be very customer service focused. So when I started calling around independent livings, and I couldn't even get through to a live person to speak to, my prior history when I worked at Lorien and Sunrise is we always had like an all hands on deck. So if the sales director wasn't available to take the call, there was another department coordinator that could take the call. I didn't get that experience at any of them that I initially called. Then when I finally got somebody to call me back, which surprisingly could take up to a day or two. Some didn't even call me back, which was surprising. Um, the follow up was just not there. I couldn't even get a follow up email with just simple things like, tell me about your building. I understand some people are scared to share pricing, which is fine. Pricing wasn't really an obstacle for this particular client that I was looking for. But I need to know other things. What's your dining program like? Do you have a valet? What are your activity programs like? And it just felt like I had to do a lot of extra work to get the answers that I was looking for. And I wasn't really asking for anything out of the ordinary. So I just thought back to my leadership role being in the senior living world and how I would have just been so disappointed if this was an experience somebody had at one of my buildings
So
or
you
communities.
reached out to, what is it, five
It was either
communities,
five or six. Yeah,
five or six, and
yeah,
no, you did not reach a person. You made phone calls.
correct.
And so six phone calls, no person was able to take those calls. So you left six messages.
So I got the concierge that just
Right.
transferred me to the sales director
Right. But
who
I
I
mean,
left a
you did
voicemail
not get a
for. Yeah.
salesperson. So you
No.
were six, so zero for six, zero for six.
Oh
So
for
just answering
6.
the phone, being available. And I know
Calling
everyone's
during
always
business
sitting
hours,
there,
mind
but
you. This
somebody
wasn't right. This wasn't after hours. This wasn't
during business
weekends. This was in
hours.
the middle of the day. And so I
Right.
was just shocked that I couldn't get
Right.
anybody on.
So having a call tree, as we're talking about, the fundamentals, having a call tree, having that backup system, A team, to get someone who's needing help right now. Then just a couple people called you back. So you did not get 100% return.
No. And some now I would say probably two of them didn't even call back. Two of them did call back, and one of them did send me their information same day. The other one sent information the second day or the day after. And then the other two waited almost 2 days to call me back and were
Yeah.
super apologetic of it, which is fine. I get it. People get busy. But what else is your main focus right now, if not a qualified lead that's ready to move in? Like all she needed to do was give 30-day notice from where she currently was, and she was ready to go.
And it can't fall all on one person. It
Right, right,
cannot
right,
fall all on one person. You think, well, I'm busy. I've got tours, or I was gone, or I had a wedding. Totally get it. It
right. Everybody needs time
having,
off, right?
you're sure
Everybody
having a
can't, you can't
system,
be
a
everywhere at one
process.
time.
No. And yeah, that's a system process, maybe a virtual specialist, remote specialist,
Right.
somebody or concierge, someone on your team certainly did to do the visit too, because you were probably
Right.
ready to help her
I,
narrow
I
things
actually
down
had a
and
flight. So I have been covering Texas for Personic, and I had a flight in about a week and a half from when I was starting to search. And so I wanted to get the tour done immediately, make a decision before I
you're ready to
left.
go.
Yeah, and
Yeah, huh,
unfortunately, I was not going to go tour until I'd gotten some additional information. Not to be
sure,
disrespectful, but I only have so much time in the day,
sure.
and it was
Yeah,
kind of like pulling teeth to get the information that I needed. Now, some of them, when they called back, were very knowledgeable, were able to explain their services, and did a really good job with the detail. But others, I was just like, if I didn't know your building from working in this industry, I probably wouldn't have gotten most of the answers that I needed to even make an informed decision. And I think one of the things that people may not always realize is just because you have a big, beautiful building doesn't mean that it's the right fit for the person that's looking. And it doesn't also mean that that's going to be enough to draw me into tour. As somebody who's educated and limited on time in the industry, there were certain deal breakers that I knew my client had or my friend's mom had that we just, we weren't going to tour unless we knew that they
sure.
had that.
In other words, you're ready to go. The
Right.
customer service just wasn't there.
No.
It just
And the
wasn't
follow-up
there
was pretty poor with
at
most
the
of them.
follow-up. Well,
And
you
and
weren't
when I
even
didn't even respond to one of the emails because I saw what they had sent over, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to be a good fit. No follow-up,
no
no even
follow.
follow-up saying, hey, did you get the information? Are you still
Yeah,
interested? Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
yeah.
And I just think back to I had a director of sales who probably was the best at managing her CRM. And I just saw her hunting me in the back of my mind saying, I cannot believe that they did not call you within a couple days or the next day just to see if you got the email. So,
Yes,
anyways,
it's the system, the process, and the fundamentals. Though the those core fundamentals can be a differentiator. If one person, right, had
absolutely.
called you, or one person had answered the phone, and again, there not everything is for everybody, but you can't control the things you can control, right? So, any one of those things can be a differentiator among competition, getting to know you, doing great discovery, etc. Because you hadn't even visited the buildings and it's a continued challenge. It's a continued challenge to continue
And
to
and I unfortunately feel like
fill
those are
those
just the
things up.
basics, right? That's what I would base, those are the baseline basics of what I would expect out of
Yeah,
a sales
yeah.
director to do at some of these buildings. So then if I had gotten the chance to tour with all of them, I just wonder what that experience would have been like. I probably should have done it just to see, but obviously time was limited at that
Time
crunch.
is limited. It is. And I know you have an opportunity to refer. And,
Yeah,
most of us know either we have, an older loved one or know an older loved one or, are able to refer. I want to go back to differentiators though, because
sure.
they're the core fundamentals, everything that we can control for actions, the culture, how people feel seen and heard, the things you can't touch, those are the differentiators definitely. People might not necessarily believe it. It's like, well, I don't have a balcony or I don't have a swimming pool or, or I'm not the newest building. True. The way people are treated, is an absolute differentiator. But going back to this daily check or this is a virtual, a real person for 15 minutes a
Yep.
day
Hmm.
talking with, in this case, maybe you're an independent living resident. I can
Yep.
imagine that without going into lots of detail, and we'll give everyone listening, if they want more information, your contact and how they can set up to learn more.
Yep.
But I can imagine a few things. One is an operator who offers that option as an option for independent living residents might draw people to move in sooner
Right.
and stay longer.
Hmm.
And secondly, those that barrier from going from independent to assisted living.
Right.
Oftentimes, now if it's major ADLs, I'm talking about
Right.
oftentimes
Right. Right.
that,
Right.
that the initial, most uh, the catalyst is that medication, right?
Right.
And the inability to do that for oneself anymore. And the leap, the financial leap, and I love assisted living, and
Yep.
it's worth every dollar. But the financial leap from the independent living uh, to assisted living can be too much.
So, to speak on a couple things that you mentioned, so I feel when it comes to independent living, You obviously offer a lot of convenient services. So we talked about the dining and the activities, and you're going to be around a lot of people that are probably in a similar state of life as you. But not all independent livings really offer the opportunity for eyes to be laid for someone to put eyes on a resident on a daily basis. So that's number one, what we're here to accomplish. Number two is the medication component, and you kind of touched on it. And what we're seeing now is a lot of independent living operators are losing their residents because they have to move to assisted living. And when I did assisted living, we saw a lot of people that come in the door just needed medication management. And there's nothing wrong with that. Assisted living can definitely support you at that. But you talked about the big financial leap. We're talking maybe bare minimum $1,000 to upwards of $2,500 to $3,000 a month. But sometimes just because you can't remember to take all of the medications that you're on, and a lot of seniors are on 8+ medications today. I know I would even struggle with that anytime I have any little medication I'm supposed to be on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I better set an alarm for that. But they may not necessarily be ready to make the transition to assisted living for everything else that's going on with them. So just because you need reminders doesn't mean you're ready for assisted living. But if you can't take your medications, independent living typically doesn't really have a great solution for that. So we're trying to help maybe open the front door, close the back door. And for some of our independent living providers that are losing people to assisted living, how can we slow that process down a little bit?
I love it. And again, consider offering this as an option
Right.
for your independent living residents.
And you
For
talked
anyone
about the
listening, just opening the
yeah,
door to consider or to learn more. And imagine from a sales perspective, as many tools, we're not going to do our flip chart and talk, lecture people, but as many tools as we can have in our toolbox for those differentiators
right,
and for those whys. And for people where medication management isn't an issue, of course, we won't mention it, but I can't help but think in this very competitive market,
right,
anything that an operator can do if it's the right, obviously, if it's the right thing, the right fit, and it fits the culture and it fits, your market, that you, why not?
right. So the other thing you kind of touched on is one thing that was very important to us was to keep the live human interaction. So the
Yes.
clinician does show up and interact. It's not just an AI tool, it's not another app, it's not a reminder tool. We can remind you of upcoming appointments and anything that you need. Maybe the family member wants to make sure they make it to a certain activity, we can remind you for that. But having that almost face-to-face interaction with a clinician, there's also a UCLA study that talks about the loneliness score, and just 15 minutes of social interaction can increase that loneliness score by 2 points. And there are residents that are moving into independent living for activities, but that doesn't mean that there aren't residents that still stay isolated in their apartments. So even that little 15 minutes of social interaction can you know, help support them. Hopefully help reduce their, becoming depressed. The other thing, that kind of goes hand in hand with that is a live person is going to be able to pick up on what's going on with that resident. So we had a resident, or we had a patient, actually, this patient was living at home out in Arkansas, and he was showing signs of a stroke. And our clinician picked up on that, was able to convince him to go to the hospital and saved his life. So you just never know what could be happening that we might be able to jump in and support with.
Oh, that's powerful. It is. So, Matt, for those listening, and thank you all so much for listening to the
Yeah,
Grow Your Occupancy
appreciate
podcast,
you guys.
liking, sharing, subscribing, this amazing, amazing business that you all serve. How can people learn more about Alevion Health and exactly what this is and
Sure.
how it works?
So you can reach out to me directly, but we do have an email if you want to reach out and request more information. Contact at Alevion at Alevion's Elevion health.com. And we'd be happy to support you. We could do a demo and see if it's a good fit for you. And one thing I do want to mention, it is 15-minute increments, but you're not limited to just 15 minutes. So you can do it as many times a day as you would like. And then we're charging about $10 a visit. So it's very cost effective.
Matt, it's always good to talk to you. And I'm so
Of course.
fortunate.
Thanks for
We're
having
fortunate. We
me.
talk almost daily now. We love
Yeah,
supporting Levion Health and you and your companies. And you really have the heart. You have the heart for what you do, which
thank you,
I
Julie.
admire so much. Again, thank you for
Appreciate it.
spending time with me. and everyone
And
else on the
thanks for
podcast.
being someone I can learn so much from. I appreciate you and your entire team.
Thank you all again, and we will talk to you later and see you on the next episode of the Grow Your Occupancy Podcast.